Hello and welcome back to the Analytics FC podcast. I'm your host Chris, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Ricardo Moreira. So Ricardo is currently the VP of Soccer Operations and Technical Director at MLS side Orlando City, and before that he spent time working with another MLS side, Columbus Crew, as their head of player recruitment. In this conversation we speak about squad building and how clubs in the MLS have many different rules and regulations to stick to when it comes to bringing in players. So whether that be the types of players that they can bring in, but also the amount of money they can spend. And we also touch upon some new rules as well set by the league, which is changing things up a little bit too. So as well as that, we speak about scouting in different parts of the world and also how much of a role data plays in Ricardo's thoughts, as well as youth and progressing players through the academy system. So without further ado, let's bring Ricardo into the conversation. Ricardo, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Chris. I'm doing really fine. Thank you very much. And you?
I'm doing very well as well. Looking forward to hopefully learning a thing or two about recruitment within the MLS from you today, Ricardo. So we'll start off light. So we're recording this on a Friday. So I'm just curious to ask, how's your day been? What have you been up to today? So obviously you've got a game tomorrow. What does a typical Friday look like for yourself?
That's a really good question to start with. Typical Friday, would say we change a little bit the schedule when we play at home. So Fridays usually, well, let's start with the opposite. If we play away, we train in the training facilities. Usually in MLS, the away games are on Saturdays. So we train Friday in morning, have lunch, go to the airport, catch the plane, and go to whatever city we're going to play away. Sleep there, play on the away match, and fly back home right after. And charter flights in MLS, we fly charter to everywhere we go. And again, usually the games are on Saturday. So when we play home, we leave the training facilities on Saturday. We train in the stadium. Coaching staff would like to play to have the final training, final touches, final conversation, video, and etc. We're doing it in the stadium on Friday. So we go to the stadium Friday morning. Our front office, our operations are in the stadium, so it's a good opportunity on a Friday to be a little bit there and talk to finance, talk to legal, talk to marketing. So just streamline the relationship between the soccer operations with the front office, and it's a good day for that. So usually I go to the stadium, watch training, and leave a couple of meetings with the front office in the afternoon. Not today. Today I'm participating in the podcast, so I think the folks will have to wait for a couple more weeks for me to be there back again.
Perfect. Well, we definitely appreciate you joining us, Ricardo. So thanks for that. We're going to dive into probably a little bit deeper as the conversation goes on in terms of what maybe a full average week looks like for you as well. But let's kind of start from there then, just to learn a little bit more about yourself. So in terms of, and I'll just give a quick overview from what I know so far. So obviously currently VP of Soccer Operations and Technical Director at Orlando City FC, as we know. You joined the club sort of, and I'm going from your LinkedIn profile, so I hope it's up to date. So 6.5 years ago, and you spent the first 5 years as Technical Director and Assistant GM. And before that, you were Head of Recruitment at Columbus Crew. And obviously then you were Sporting Director over in Brazil as well. And I feel like you come from a law background as well. So if you want to kind of expand on that and how you kind of found your way into football or soccer, Ricardo.
I'm getting older, so it's difficult to put everything in a short summary about my career, but I'll try to do my best. I have a law background. Before that, I tried I'm Brazilian, as you know, Chris. So as every other Brazilian or maybe South American, and I try to be a soccer player. I try to be a football player. I found early enough that talent wouldn't probably take me to where I wanted to be. Wouldn't take me to the Champions League, definitely. So different than the reality of the South Americans and the Brazilian kids. I was fortunate to come from a good family and have options. So I was studying in good schools and etc. So I was preparing myself as well for business, for the market, to do other stuff. And I think that when I finished playing, I was 18 to 19 years old. I was playing the under 20s in a big club actually in São Paulo, but I found that my talent wouldn't take me to where I wanted to go, right? And it was obviously a difficult moment, always a tough decision when you look at yourself and say like, okay, that's probably not the way I'm going to fulfill my dream of playing or working with football, right? So I decided to go to law school because I thought I was good in writing, I was good in reading, I was good in English, in Portuguese, in history, and etc. So I was like, okay, maybe this will open a door for me somewhere. I didn't know where I would land, but I went to law school. In the middle of law school, I got a scholarship to come to the United States to play NCAA First Division. I played football here for soccer in our reality here in our world here. I played for like 6 months to 8 months in a good school, but I also suddenly realized that because I was coming from a law school in Brazil, I couldn't transfer all the credit, so it was a little bit of a mess, and I decided to go back and finish law school in Brazil. So I finished law school in Brazil, started working as a sports lawyer, worked for a while in a big firm in São Paulo as a sports lawyer, and I think that was very fulfilling at the moment because it was connecting me to the industry. It was connecting me to transfers of players, to players themselves, to agents, to confederations. I was going to the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Switzerland, in Lausanne. So I was pretty much involved as far as I could being a lawyer. I was still not happy. I didn't like the corporate world. I didn't like the world that I was in. So I started like doing my networking, and I started doing courses of everything that you can imagine, like sports marketing, it had sports in the title. I was doing the course. I was trying to get closer to people. I was trying to get to know how to be a sporting director. That was my dream. That was my dream since day one. Like, okay, I cannot play soccer. How can I do to be a sporting director? And there were back then. There were not schools. There were not like courses to become a sporting director. I'm talking about 2008, 2009, 2010. So I did my MBA in sports management, and actually from one day to another, I put a PowerPoint, a presentation. I showed to one of our clients that, hey, that's how I think, very audacious, right? That's how I think you should run your club, your sports operation, right? And again, long story short, 6 months later, the owner of this club, there was a client of mine in the law firm, called me and said, like, okay, I need you here, but as a lawyer, you want to come or not? So for me, in my career, at that point in my career, was walking 5 steps back, probably, going from the law firm that I was working for to a small club, third division in Brazil. It was close to my house, to my home, so that was the only thing that facilitated the decision back then. But I was like, okay, that's the moment in my life where I have to take the shot. I was about to get married. I had proposed to my wife, and I proposed one day, and a week later, I was in this new project, new ideas, probably we talk and we joke, like going back, probably what was going through her mind, right? This guy just proposed it to me, and he's not working anymore in the law firm. He's just like trying something new, and she's not from the sports world, from the soccer world. So it was a funny, tense, and very anxious moment for me and for her, probably. Everything went out well. So from this club, I worked as a lawyer in the beginning. To become the sporting director was like 2 months only, because they fired the sporting director. It's Brazil. We lost a couple of games, and they changed everything. And I think we did a good job there for 2 3 years. We went to the first division. We went to a final of a cup, and funny enough, the coach that we had back then that taught me a lot. Coached Brazil last year, or in 2023, I want to say, right after 2022, 2023. So I think we did something relevant there, very impactful. Again, with probably one of the subjects that we're going to talk here today, Chris, which is scouting. I think we were very smart. We didn't have the resources, but we did a good job in scouting there, and I think that led me to get connected to Columbus. Columbus in MLS, they were trying to get a feeling, to put a foot in South America. They wanted to bring South American players to MLS, and they didn't know how they would do it. They hired me to be the director of recruitment back then. Almost 4 years in Columbus, very successful as well. We played MLS Cup final that we lost at home. We played a conference final. And from Columbus, I came to Orlando. And as you said in the beginning in your opener, 6.5 years, rare stability in our world. But I think it's been a steady growth in Orlando, step by step. We've been doing, we can see already different phases of Orlando City, different approaches. One approach with the academy, one approach of older star players, one approach with young players. We've been able to and I quote that, manipulate a little bit our project and attack different areas to in pursuit of success. And I think we've been winning a couple trophies, but success for me is more than that. And I think we've been doing a good job, and hopefully we'll be here enhancing this project and this idea for years to come.
Yeah, definitely. No, that was a great answer, and I liked how you touched on a few things which we are going to dive deeper in terms of scouting, the South American aspect as well, Ricardo. So I'm taking this sentence from your LinkedIn profile. So I just want to ask you a little bit around this. So you've got down here. So your core competencies include establishing a club vision and culture, recruiting top talent, fostering change, and building teams that win on and off the field. So if we can just focus on the club vision aspect of that, club vision and the culture. So how do you think about, firstly, what is the club? What is the vision of Orlando City? How do you think about that, and how do you ensure that is ingrained in the decisions that you are making, whether it be recruitment decisions or anything else?
No, I think everything flies around of culture, Chris, as you touched. I think in enhancing the culture and being responsible, like for being the guardian of the culture of the club, which probably I am not, but I think that we need people in the building that understand where the club's going, right? And people with the vision and with the plan to execute it. One of the things that we did back then is we work in the club and we like to work like that, and ownership likes to work like that in 3 year cycles, right? So what are we going to do from now, 2025, let's say January 2025 to the end of 2027? What's the plan now? Okay, the plan, the North Star is always to win championships. This club wants to win. We want a trophy. We want to put a star in our badge, an MLS Cup star, and we haven't been able to do so yet. But that's our North Star. Like, and how do we do that? For us, it matters how we win. We wanna win with defined playing style where people can identify. If you change your color purple to black, you know there is a Orlando City playing, and that goes from top down, right? We want the academy to be like that. We want the second team to be like that, and we've been able to foster a culture of winning, and again pursuing that in a way that we respect our values, we respect our principles, and respect of our way of playing. That also reflects in the way that we recruit, and we recruit players and we recruit people, right? The same process that we do to hire a player, and I think we're gonna touch this point later in the pod as well. Like we want to see the character, we want to see the ambition, we want to see the cultural fit, right? I think one of the aspects that we've been very successful in doing so in the last couple of years is we have a very good and controlled environment, in the sense that everybody's in the same page, knowing what they want to do and knowing how to get there. And eventually, the ball is obviously the ball is going to bounce in and or bounce out.
Yeah.
But I think having the people with the same goal, with the same North Star, it's the most important thing. That whoever we recruit for Orlando City, either a player or a staff member, they know that the goal is to win. They know that the goal is to make this city and this community proud of us. And from there, there's a lot of things that comes down the pipeline in terms of your behavior in the day to day. What do you do to achieve our goals in every department? We have the KPIs in every department, and again, they all are related to winning, but we count the small wins as well, right? So for us, when we have recently, our academy is super young. For example, our academy is 5 years old, and now this year we have a right back who's a starter for our team, who's a difference maker actually to our team, and he's coming from our academy, and he's probably one of the first players that we have in our team that is a true Orlando City fan. Orlando born or Orlando City. He's not born. He was not born in Orlando constantly, but he's an Orlando City fan. Things that we see in other sports, like for him, a game matters more than it matters for others, maybe. So I think everybody are aligning in the same goal and the same objectives with the same North Star is something that we try to pursue, and I think this reflects in not only in a good environment, but in the way you win, in winning, and how you're winning.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. So you mentioned the different departments and everyone being aligned. So I'm just trying to go a little bit deeper into those other people that's in the club, Ricardo, that maybe you work with on a day-to-day. So kind of who are the other people, the other staff that you are maybe conversing with the most, who you've got the closest relationships within the squad?
Yeah, I think there are different things there, right? There is obviously the reporting lines in a organogram of a company, of a club, but there's also the reality of the day to day, right? So I think my day to day will always, and I haven't been I haven't lived a day in this club where I didn't talk to the head coach. or I didn't talk to the academy director or the head of performance or the team administrator. So I think those are the 4 or 5 people there that are always we call it the leadership team, right? The soccer leadership team. So to make sure that there are talks, there are pipelines between the academy and the first team, the administration and soccer, performance and technical stuff, performance and administration, performance and the academy as well. So I think this leadership group, this core of the club, is really important to be connected, to be always in the same page. Because again, we have something here that we say the title is the Orlando City Soccer Club Way. It's actually, we've documented that actually it's internal, obviously, but that's who we are. That's how we want to be. Those are the KPIs again of every department, and to make sure everybody's aligned and everybody is aware of other departments' KPIs and goals and objectives. We have this leadership group, this core group that meets at least twice a week officially or formally, but on the day-to-day, we're always talking.
Yeah, perfect. So let's kind of get into transfers and signings and building squads, Ricardo. I know a lot of people that will be listening and watching will be interested in this kind of part of the conversation. So just let's start really basic first of all, because again, the majority of viewers might be listening and comparing this to kind of transfers in Europe or in UK at least. So do you guys have transfer windows like we do over in Europe? Is it the same kind of setup? And in terms of what are the intricacies and rules, which we will get into each of them, in terms of like designated players and salary caps, etc. What other things have you got to think about when kind of thinking and planning to build a roster?
No, many things. Actually, we do have transfer windows similar to what you have in Europe and South America. Our transfer window is a little bit different because our off season is longer than the majority of other leagues and countries. Our preseason starts in the beginning of January, and we probably play our home opener in late February, beginning of March. So we give us like 6.5 weeks to prepare. And the transfer window is open. The transfer window is open usually from January to April. So it's still open, the transfer window in MLS, to bring players in. And it will open again in July for a shorter period. Our summer transfer window is shorter. So I would say that it's more similar to countries that follow or leagues that follow the calendar year rather than England, than Spain, and so on. Italy and so on. So our league follows the calendar year. So our transfer window, our most important transfer window, is in the beginning of the year, and in the middle of the year we have a shorter summer transfer window, which is very challenging, Chris, right? Because that's when the European clubs are looking into our players, right? So for us, it's really difficult to lose players during the summer transfer window because you are in the final stretch of league play. What we've been trying to do as a scouting team, as an analytics team, we've been trying to obviously think ahead and be prepared, right? So those are the players that are being outstanding for us, X, Y, and Z. And I think we already start conversations for the replacements before they leave. So we are ready to replace and react to the market as fast as we can. I think that's probably one of the characteristics that is really good to have in a scouting team, your power or your ability to react to the transfer market, because not always you're always going to find surprises. You're going to find surprises in the transfer deadline day. You're going to find surprises of players that you probably never thought you're going to lose. But guess what? The market is increasing so much, and there's so much how do you say, like, there's so much tools, there's so many tools, there's so many, and clubs are looking at the same place, right? It's hard to think outside the box nowadays because everybody has the same tools, the same softwares, the same systems. So it's actually I think a good characteristic and ability to have as a scout, as a sporting director, is the ability to identify the fit to your game model, the fit, not only the best talent, but the right talent for your club, right? Because again, especially in a league where you have 30 clubs and 30 clubs with the same amount of money to spend, usually, with some exceptions, to find the right player for you, it's a even greater challenge. So you have to have this ability to read the market well. So MLS has plenty of rules to bring players in, to sell players. So it's a very challenging environment, but I think it's an environment that for a learning curve, for a sporting director, for a scout director, for a scout, it's a pretty good market to be in.
So those rules, Ricardo, in terms of, because I'll be honest, when I was prepping for this interview, I was looking at the different rules, and it's quite in detail in terms of you're allowed this amount, you're allowed this, you can then buy back some of this, and it's very complicated. So is it your job at the club to be on top of that, or does the club have other people in different positions that are? I mean, do those rules change often, for example, from the league, or is it kind of constant?
They do change often because the league is growing, right? I think when I started in the league in this league 10 years ago, we had a set amount of rules that changed throughout those across those 10 years. And I couldn't go back and imagine how we did things in the past. But I think because we're evolving, right? It's a new league. We're MLS is turning 30 years old this season. It's the 30th season of MLS, and I think it's getting more aligned with the global market than it was before. It's American sports, right? They all have the same idea behind it, right? To share revenues, share everything. They want to create a system, a structure where everybody can compete equally. Regardless if you're the big club, regardless, there are no big clubs, there are no big NBA clubs. There are the teams that won the most, but they're all the same, essentially, right? And that's something that they foster here, that everybody has the same chance to win, and that everybody is in the same bucket, basically. So those rules are for that. They change often. We had just a recent change this year that it's pretty challenging for everybody, and clubs are approaching it in different ways because until last year, until 2024, you have the ability, just to sum up, Chris, because I think it's really complicated, and there are plenty. We can have a podcast only to talk about the MLS rules, I think, right? But in sum, it's like every club has, and I like to say a number just to make the things easier, is that every club has $10 million to spend in transfer of players. And that includes the transfer fee, the salary, and agency fee. And let's not forget that you can pay agent fee and transfer fee in installments, right? So it's not that you have to only $10 million now. You can buy a player for $5 million in 5 years. So he's going to count $1 million this season. So you're going to have 9 instead of 10. So the set amount of $10 million has 2 exceptions, basically, right? One of the exceptions is the designated player. The designated player is a player that the club can spend whatever the club wants in the acquisition and in the salary, but he's going to cost only $500,000 towards your cap, against your cap. So instead of 10, you can have Neymar for $100 million, but he's going to count at $500,000. You have 9.5 now then. So the numbers are approximated, right? Just to facilitate, so people can think and visualize better. So instead of 9, so you have 3 players in this. You have 3 designated players that you can have. So basically, if you have those 3 designated players, you have $8.5 million to the rest of your roster, to the rest of your squad. And on top of the designated players, you have under 22 players that are 22 or younger, that you can pay whatever you want for the acquisition fee. And they have a limit in their salary of roughly $600,000 per year. And they count towards your cap only as $200,000. Right. So we can have 3 designated players, 3 under 22 players, and roughly you're talking about $2.1 million they're going to count against them. But you can spend whatever money you want on the acquisition fee of them. The under 22s, they have a limit in the salary that they can make. That was always the rule. Since 2025, MLS gave the clubs the option to have 2 designated players only, and another under 22, an extra under 22. The league has been trying since I think since its conception to become a league of younger players, and it was never the case because it's known around the world for being a league of players that are going into the retirement that want to come to the United States to retire. So the league created those mechanisms to incentivize clubs to acquire younger players. The under 22 rules give us the ability of bringing competitive players, good players, bring good players to be competitive in the market, and also have a cap relief because they cost less than an average player would cost against your cap. So those are the basic rules that kind of help us, not help us, but those are the two basic rules, the under 22 and the designated player, that every scout and every sporting director needs to know to work in MLS,
Yeah.
because those are the most important players in your roster, probably in your squad, and you have to try to work with them to find good solutions for your team.
Yeah. So in terms of that kind of the model, so the clubs would have an option whether, because again, this is what I've seen just before you joined, in fact, Ricardo. So you guys have gone for the designated player model, from what I can tell, in this year. And then it seems like that's what the majority of clubs have done as well. Like there's more than double the amount of teams that have gone with the designated player option than the under 22. So does that allow them that one extra designated player rather than the extra in like the under 22 player? Is that how it works?
It is. Well, what is happening is that because it's a new rule, the clubs had already prepared themselves to
Oh, I
to
see. Yeah.
25 with three DPs and 322. Some clubs that had DPs expiring their contracts or transfer player, then those were had the ability to change. But we had this ability as well. We sold Facundo Torres in January, and we could have brought another 22 player to replace Facundo Torres and stay with the 4-2, and then you have extra money in the cap for the remainder of your roster. We decided to go with the 3+3. We still have one under 22 spot open, by the way, so we have this in the pocket for the summer transfer window. We don't know what to do with that. We do, but we're like, okay, let's assess the market. Let's see how the team does in the first 6 months of competition, and then we assess that again in the summer. But I think the majority of the clubs are going with the 3-3 because it was what they've planned for in the last couple of years.
Interesting. So, and one thing you did say in your speech there, Ricardo, was homegrown players. So let's kind of just define a little bit more on what that is. So is that, because from what I understand it is somebody that has played a minimum of a year or so in your kind of youth setup. So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that is from Orlando. It can be someone that you've brought in and has spent a bit of time there. Is that correct?
That's correct. I can have a player from California that we brought to Orlando that is living here with us in our homestay program. And he spends 1 year with us and signed with the first team. He's considered a player from our academy. He's considered a homegrown. Yeah.
And does that have to be under a certain age, or like what's the, like, how old are they got?
Yeah. He must join your academy before he's 17 years old.
Right, okay. And then after that, if he stays a year, he's classed as a homegrown player, so that's perfect.
Exactly. And there's also cap relief if you sign homegrown players. If you sign homegrown players, don't count. They don't count against your cap, against your cap in your main cap. There's a different cap for
It's
for
very complicated, this, Ricardo.
It's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit complicated, but as I said, I think it's we're talking about scouting, analyzing players, etc. It's very challenging. It's really good because you have kind of sets of boxes where you have to put the player in.
Yeah.
And you have to be precise, and you cannot miss a miss in MLS. It's really difficult. You hit one, you miss one. It's tough. You have to hit more than you miss in this league because it's difficult to replace players. Because again, you're looking for such a specific player to fit in such a specific rule in your cap that it's actually helps you reduce your options in your search, right? It's a natural filter for your search for the players that you're trying to bring in, but also very challenging because let's say you're gonna have 5 to 10 options to fit your under 22 rule for that characteristic that you want, for that money that you can spend. So to go from 100 players to 10, it's nice, obviously, but to make the decision on those 5 to 10, it's very important because it's really difficult to replace them.
Yeah. Interesting. So let's go to, while we're on the homegrown, kind of the youth players then, Ricardo. So again, I take this from your profile. So you've helped develop a pathway for academy players and increase the representation of the club in the USA youth national teams. So again, can we just build on kind of how youth looks? You mentioned the academy, 5 years old at Orlando City. So how do you think about the academy and what role does that play in the bigger picture in terms of that squad building?
I think the academy plays a crucial role in a club, especially in MLS. Again, there's a cap relief if you have homegrown players. So that's probably the reason, not the number one, but it's a very important reason for you to try to promote and have good homegrown players in your first team squad, in your first team roster. One of the things that we don't take it for granted. I mean, it's important for Orlando City to be part of this community. It's important for us, for people to know, to be around that this club is trying to develop the best soccer players in the region, in Orlando and in Central Florida. So and you know how it matters for the fans, for the community to have one of their own. If it's a player born and raised in Orlando, better. But if it's a player that came through our system, I think it shows a good message. It's just and people naturally will support this more than they would support a player they will bring from abroad, just from a pure identification that they have with a player from your academy. The Academy of Orlando City was outsourced until 5 to 6 years ago. It's a pretty different scenario and structure that you would see in South America and or Europe. So we brought everybody in. We started with the under 18s and under 16s, and now we've expanded our academy year by year since then to start now with the under 12s, under 11s, under 12s. So we have a full complete pathway from the under 12s until the under 18s, and then we have our second team that plays MLS Next Pro. And for us, it's really important this player pipeline. Not only that, we have several soccer schools pay to play in Orlando, in Florida, in Central Florida, North Florida, whatever, of players and clubs that are using our badge, that have our methodology, and we have a person from that is a mix between the technical side and the business side that is responsible for this communication and this contact between our technical staff and our soccer schools. So we want to make sure that those players, and then we go under 6, under 7, under 8, under 9 in the soccer schools around the area. They have the same methodology, game plan. They know what it takes to be an Orlando City player, right? We're proud to say that 75%, I think, of our under 12 players every year are players that are coming from our academies, from our soccer schools. Sorry. There are obviously other very good soccer schools in Orlando. We have many players in our academy and even our first team that came from different schools in Orlando, different academies in Orlando, to our academy. But we're proud to say that our program has been seeing a lot of results on that. For us, it's really important to have those players, again, for identification with the community, for cap relief. But actually, we want to have the ability to build players our way. I was telling you, like we have the OCSC way, we have our pillars that goes from principles, from values to what we want to see on the field. So for us to have the ability of building those players since they are 11, 10, 12 years old until they get to the first team is major for us. Again, I was telling you that we have a player now in the first team that has been a difference maker that comes from our academy. And it's easier to have a player like that than bringing a player from abroad, from adaptation to the game, adaptation to the league, adaptation to the country, to the locker room. Those guys are in the club for the last 4 to 5 years, so I think they have an advantage in this sense.
Yeah, interesting. And this might not be specifically a question for you, Ricardo. I don't know how much you're into the kind of youth recruitment, but you mentioned the soccer schools, obviously, around the area of kind of in Florida. What's the rules? Are you allowed to recruit young players from the other side of America, or does everyone have their own region that they can work from?
Until a couple years ago, we had the territory rules in MLS. We couldn't recruit players from different places. We could only recruit players from Orlando and beyond. So we had Central Florida and North Florida per se, and Miami had South Florida. It was something like that. It was actually a line drawn from your stadium up or from your stadium down, which was really complicated. But now MLS, you have a set number of players that you can protect, that nobody can recruit unless entering into negotiation with you, with your club. If I have a 15-year-old that is playing for my academy in Cincinnati wants this player, they need to sit down and negotiate with us. If this player is not protected by us, he's not in our academy, he's not in the list of extra players that we can protect in the region, which is a really small list. It's like 9 to 10 players.
Yeah,
it's free.
it's free.
So that changed the landscape of our scouting in the academy. That's a really good question, Chris, because now since 2 years ago we have a scout dedicated only to recruit players from outside of Florida, traveling, going to camps, going to clinics, going to combines, going to tournaments in Colorado, in California, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, whatever, to bring players for us. So we've been having lately players from other states, from other from other places, which is challenging for the whole operation. Right now, we're just revamping our homestay program now because we want to have these kids safe, protected, in a good environment so they can pay for an academy. We still don't have a residency program in our training facilities. So for us, it's a little bit challenging there, but we're assessing all those potential issues that we could have bringing players from other places. But I think we're in a good position to be strong in this market. Currently, we're just about to start the Generation Adidas Cup here in the United States in IMG here in Sarasota, which is a major competition. Clubs from all over the world come in. We play against Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, and so on. And I think we're the best team in the under 18s now in the United States, and probably one top two or top three best team in the under 16s. Not only because of results, the results have been fantastic. We stayed, I think, 8 or 9 months without losing a game with our under 18s, but we only lost a game. We were proud to say that we only lost a game with the under 18s the weekend that the majority of our under 18 players were playing up with our second team. The second team won, and the under 18s they lost. But I think that shows the pipeline. Winning is important. Winning matters in every stage. But what matters the most is seeing those players going through all age groups and making an impact in the second team and the first team. We always say, like, if the second team doesn't win the league, stays bottom of the league, and in the end of the day we assign 3 to 4 players to our first team, that's a fantastic job from the coaching staff and from the head coach of the second team. That's the goal with the academy. That's the goal with our pathway for players from the academy.
Yeah. Perfect. So similar question in terms of regions and demographics, Ricardo, but now for the first team. So obviously I think with your background, your South American background, and it was also the case from what I could tell when you was at Columbus Crew, you had a heavy recruitment style from South America. So is it just that's the area that you know the industry, or is there more to it than that? And or every other club looking in South America as well, or is there more clubs that favour that? And where else are you looking as well as part of the world?
No, that's a good question, Chris. I think South America was natural for us. One, because as you said, my background and the coaching staff background as well. Our head coach is Colombian. The assistant coaches, we have one Mexican and one Argentinian. The goalkeeper coach is Venezuelan. So we have a good mix of South American people here in the club, but also the Americans, naturally. But I think it was natural for me to go to South America because of also people sometimes don't see that, but it's how can I say that the currency status per se of dollar in South America in comparison to Europe, right? So I think we're stronger. Our money is stronger in South America than it is in Europe. So for all of the challenges that we have recruited, as I explained it before in MLS, it's easier for us to go to South America. But again, it's natural for me. It's the market that I know better. It's the market that those are the games that I stop to watch during the week, are the Libertadores games, or the Brasileira only, or the Argentina Super League, or the Brazilian Serie A, myself and our scouts as well. But also we're in Florida. Florida is very Latin. The state of Florida in general, right? There's a lot of immigration here from South America and from Central America. So for the players to adapt to Florida, not only culturally, but also the heat, the sun, it's easier, it's more natural if you're coming from South America. We have scouts in Europe as well. We do take a lot of Europe into consideration. And recently, we've been very successful in recruiting from Europe as well. Our captain is Swedish. He's been with us for 7 years, or for 6.5 years since I started the club. It was probably my first signing in the club in late 2018, beginning of 19. Robin Jansson. He's been with us for all this period. Our designated player, Marco Pasalic, that came to replace the Uruguayan Facundo Torres. Marco is from Croatia. Our center back, we have a center back from Slovenia. We have a right back who comes from Iceland. And I always say that he comes from Iceland. He was not playing in Portugal when we recruited him from Iceland. He was playing in Iceland. And from Iceland to Florida was a big change for him, but he's been very good for us for the last 2 seasons. And I think we have eyes and hands everywhere. It's just more a natural fit for our locker room and for the environment for and the community, South America. But we do a good job in Europe as well. And I think, as I said, 3 to 4 starters now are from Europe.
Yeah. And just going back to the kind of rules, then, is there any rules on how many people you can have? Foreign people, you have to have a certain amount of Americans in there, so you couldn't go full South America if you wanted to, Ricardo.
That's an amazing championship manager rule that we have here, a football manager rule. I'm older, so I'm championship manager more than
Oh,
football manager. You can have 8 foreign players in our roster, in our squad. If the player has a green card,
yeah,
he counts as a domestic player.
yeah,
So that's something that we do with players that have longer contracts. We try to work with immigration to provide them with green cards so they count as domestic players.
yeah,
But also the championship manager rule is that you can sell an international spot for another club.
yeah,
So there are clubs that can have 10 international spots. There are clubs that have 6 international spots. There's one club in particular in MLS that some years ago sold an international spot for life. So they always starts the season with an international spot down. So it's pretty curious.
yeah. That's wild. That's really interesting. So let's kind of go to the scout. You touched on it a little bit there, but the scouting network in terms of the split potentially between live scouting, video scouting, and how are you using data in that as well? Because again, we've referred to a lot of South America. Well, what's the data coverage like in South America? Is it? I wouldn't really know that, Ricardo. So how do you think about that? Is that a problem or is that okay for you?
In some leagues, it's a problem. In some leagues, it's a problem. But I think we are experienced now. We had issues in the beginning analyzing data from South America just because of the resources or the sources. But now I think they got much better. It's just a matter of having someone ahead of analytics, ahead of scouting, experienced enough to understand, for example, how you measure now with the new tools of physical attributes. How can you measure physicality in a game? Intensity, right? So there are tools that can help you do that now, but it's important to watch the games and to understand the difference of intensity from a league to another league, from a country to another country, so you can do a good correlation between data and what you're seeing and what you are expecting as well. Data for us is super important. I wouldn't say that we are data driven, but definitely every decision from small decisions to major decisions in our club goes through data. For example, in the scouting department, we have the player profiles. We know how we want to play. We know how we play, which sometimes is different than how we want to play. And every player has a profile that was basically drawn by data. So that helps us filter with our data tools the market. So instead of going to look into 500 right backs, we look into 5 to 10 right backs because based on the way we want to play, based on our player profile that was defined by data, based on how we play that was defined by data, and based on you filter the players that have data that combine that can fit in those 2 boxes. So it makes much easier to the scout that will then watch the player in video, watch the player live, and suggest that myself make a decision to bring the player or not. So we start with data. We use data in the middle of the process to compare the player with our current starter, with our other profiles, with other profiles in the league. We use the data of the player that we are trying to bring or that we are analyzing to compare him in this league, in other leagues. Where could we potentially sell him to after he comes here? So we do lots of those studies, and I like to say that after we do all of that, and the scouts will start watching the player in video. The scouts they meet all of them twice a week. We have a head of scouting here in Orlando. We have a scouting coordinator here in Orlando, plus 3 scouts in South America and 1 scout in Europe. And we also have a college scout because we also a very American thing also, like very particular from the United States, that we recruit players from college as well. And we've been very successful in recruiting players from college. We sold one to West Bromwich. We have one of our top strikers here, Duncan McGuire, who's also from college. He was always linked to championship and to English teams. But after we do all of this data analysis, we watch the player in video, the scouts meet, and they would recommend the player to me and the head coach. And I do a filter. Obviously, there's a filter between me and the head coach. And if the players meet several of those criteria, then we send the scout to watch live. And then we start a whole different process, which is watching the player live, assessing the data with what the scouts saw live, 2, 3 games, different environments, different weathers if possible. We don't control the weather, obviously, but different weather, different leagues. If the player's playing the cup, if he's playing a league game, if he's playing away, if he's playing home, we like to meet the player. We like to talk to the player, to talk to the family, to talk to the agent, obviously. But again, we try to mitigate the risk on bringing a player. We make mistakes, obviously, as every other club, but we try to reduce the risk of not only what the player must do to play for us, but also adaptability to our reality, to the country, to the city, and to the locker room. So it's a very thorough process, and we're very proud of been hitting much more than we've been missing in the last 6 years, to be honest. And we are using resources today, and those numbers are public, right? Out of the 30 clubs in the league, we're probably number 26 or 27 in player investment. Not because our ownership doesn't want to invest in players, or not because I don't want to invest in players. Just like we'd like to do smart scouting and keep the engine, keep the wheel running, right? We want to bring players, we want to develop them or help develop them and polish them and sell them, and we want to participate in the market while we are always trying to win championships. So it's a very complicated puzzle, but a very exciting one, and I think we've been doing well. And if the ball bounced in last year, I was going to be talking with you with
Yeah.
over the crest of Orlando City, but unfortunately the goalkeeper made an amazing save in the last minute of the game, and we're here talking about trying to win this year.
Definitely. No, that's really interesting. There's a good insight to it. And I suppose you're doing all of that while balancing the youth setup, because you don't want to obviously block anyone coming up from the youth team in terms of a new signing. If you've already got them, there's no point bringing somebody in if they're not going to be any better than what you've got currently, unless you are doing a trading model, I suppose. But yeah, it's interesting that you're balancing both of them at the same time. So on the kind of talent topic, then, Ricardo, I'm going to read. This is one of your tweets. So I'm going to read it. Or it's still called tweet. I don't know if it's tweets anymore because it's no longer Twitter, is it? But we'll read it. We'll read this out. So people always confuse great talent with the right talent. Successful recruitment requires having a crystal clear picture of the team's needs. Talent cannot be evaluated in a vacuum. Unless you're very clear of that, you might end up finding the great talent, but not the right talent. So I just wanted you, if you can, just to expand a little bit on that in terms of the meaning behind that.
Well, I got a lot of criticism one time when I was trying to explain that, Chris, and I've compared a situation where, okay, if you have Lewandowski in your team, you probably don't need Benzema. And people are like, oh, this guy's crazy. He's saying that Benzema is not good. No, that's not what I'm saying. Definitely not. He's probably one of the best strikers that we had in the last 10, 15, 20 years, no, top striker. What I was trying to say is that, especially in the environment of MLS, you have to differentiate the best talent from the right talent. If you have a player, because of the set of rules that we have, and as I explained to you before, sometimes you're not going to be able to bring all the talent that you want. You have to bring all the talent that can fit in your team. So if you have Benzema or if you have Lewandowski, you're not going to bring the other one because you have 3 DP spots available, and it can only bring 3. You're not going to bring 3 strikers, right? So to bring the talent, to bring the best talent, that's it. The right talent is not the best talent because of that. It's again cultural fit and game fit to your profile of tactics and technique and etc. You have to find the right player that will produce or do something that your club is in need. If you have Lewandowski, you probably don't need Benzema. Especially in MLS, you cannot have both because you have the set amount of rules that is going to complicate you.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So for those watching the video, you'll notice Ricardo has changed background. So we just had a quick little break just because Ricardo's family just came home. So, but we've got a few more questions to go through, Ricardo. So appreciate that. So in terms of what I wanted to ask you, because we've spoke about data and youth there, and those are 2 things that really, well, sometimes take years to come to fruition. So it's not something that you get overnight success from. So I wanted to ask you how you in your role balance kind of long-term strategic planning with needing success. Obviously you're under a contract, so if you don't deliver, how do you think about that in terms of that, getting that balance right?
It's a really good question, Chris, and I think it's I would say easier is not the right answer, right? But we're still trying to develop the culture of soccer or football here in the United States, right? So that's the difficult part, because in the United States in general, you either win or you win, right? They don't care about not that people don't care or the fans don't care. I mean, sometimes they don't understand player pathways. Or as we were talking before, the other sports in the United States, for example, they don't have academies. So the source of players for the NBA, for the NFL, for the NHL is basically the college and some other players from Europe that, if I'm not mistaken, they come through the draft system, right? For college. So for us, uh, in sports, right, we obviously want to win. We grow up with this competitiveness in our blood, and we want to win, and etc. But once you're sitting in this chair, you're a sporting director, you're a general manager, you're a leader of not only the project but a leader of many people. You're not only counting the big wins. We spoke before, the small wins, creating for us in this last 6 years and a half. We were not able to win the MLS Cup. I couldn't say that we failed so far. I would never say that, because again, we're coming. The club was last place or last, or not that last sometimes, but the first time the Orlando City made the playoffs in MLS was 2020, and we've been making the playoffs every season since then. We haven't missed once. We made finals. We won the cup. We made two finals of the cup. So we created the academy, we brought the academy back. We created different age groups. We increased the amount of people working for the club. We have better people working for the club, much more prepared people from the United States, from Europe, from South America. We have people. We became what we would like to say a soccer-centric environment. Before, it wasn't like that. People wouldn't feel the crest, wouldn't feel the game. Not only here in London. I think it's a matter of culture. Culture you don't buy, right? We have here the best training facilities. We have the best stadiums. We're bringing a lot of good talent. The best players, the best player in the world right now plays here. And but one thing that we cannot buy is culture. So it's something that we have to develop, right? So I think people with my experience, with my background from South America, people from Europe, even people from the United States that has like a soccer background, can help increase and enhance the culture of football, of soccer here in the United States. And then the small wins they can become wins. Obviously, it's a balance, because we want to win. We want to win championships. The North Star of our team is winning championships. The vision, mission, and values of our club, they start with win championships. That's what we want to do, and then we obviously want to have a good environment. We want to develop people. We want to develop the game of soccer. We want people to get in love with the game in the community, and etc. But the North Star is always to win, and so to find a balance in it's really difficult. But again, if you have a good set of responsibilities and duties for every person, for every department, for every player. We talk to the players. I have meetings with the players in January during preseason. A player that scored 4 goals. Okay, your goal this year is to score 7. Your goal this year is to have X amount of clean sheets. So we by building those blocks, we believe that we can eventually win it all, and hopefully we'll do.
Yeah, very interesting. So I also want to ask you, Ricardo, some of the difficult parts of your job. So, it all sounds very fun and very energetic, and, it seems like it's a dream job for many, but I'm sure it comes with some difficulty, whether that's making tough decisions, letting people go, or the expectations. So can you talk us a little bit around that, maybe some of the tougher times you've had in the 6.5 years at the club?
I just correct you. There is not a fun job. It's a job. The difference that I'm working with what I love. Football is my life, and I grew up with the game. I want to be involved in the game as much as I can. So, and it's not fun because, Chris, you know that we're sitting in chairs that a lot of people would like to sit, and we don't take it for granted. So, every day that we woke up and talk about myself, about the majority of the players and the coaching staff, and etc. We know that we gotta give 150% of our best in order to remain in this seat, to get better, or to find other good opportunities. Because we know that it goes like this: you make a mistake, you make a set amount of mistakes, you're out of the industry, and you're not coming back. It's super challenging. Well, okay, I'll give you that. It's somewhat fun, but to let people go, to let players go, I think it's the most difficult part of the job for me personally, because especially here in Orlando, the reality that we have, Chris and I mentioned before, we've built this club. We built the success of this club. We were part of that since the beginning. So, and because every year we've been growing step by step, it's not, we haven't had yet a moment where, okay, it's time to clean the house. So, because everything is going wrong. So when we do clean the house a bit, because it's natural, it's evolution of the team, it's evolution of the club, it's different ways of thinking, different approaches for from year to year. It's difficult to let players go because they've been part of that. They've been part of the success. And as I said before, thankfully we have been having more hits than misses in scouting. So usually the players that we're letting go, the players that we are informing that we don't want them anymore, are players that didn't fail, are players that are just not part of the project anymore for X amount of reasons. But it's a difficult conversation to have. We cannot be to be in a seat over sporting director. You cannot be afraid of the tough conversations, of the difficult ones, because they happen every day with players, with the coach, with owners, with agents, especially with the agents are part of our day to day, and it's not easy to deal with the majority of them. But and it's super stressful as well. I think I've seen other sporting directors or GMs that goes to the game, and the feeling is I've done my job. I've put the team together. I brought the coach. I've explained the vision, and now it's with them. I'm not like that. Uh, I feel the game as if I'm a player or as if I'm a head coach. What I wanted to do is to be on the pitch because I cannot do for many reasons. I have the same butterflies in my stomach before every game, and I feel the game. And while I'm analyzing the game from a sporting director seat, I'm analyzing the data with my data team. I want to understand what happened. I understand what the plan is before the game, why things happen or why things didn't happen. At the same time, I'm a fan. I put myself as a fan because if I lose this passion, if I don't want to win as everybody in that stadium wants, then I probably should be doing something else. So those are the challenges, the tough conversations, and actually the feeling because it's as if I'm a Flamengo fan back in Brazil, right? I was born and raised learning to love Flamengo, and Flamengo was all for me back in the days. And imagine like myself being a sporting director of Flamengo. I don't have to be the sporting director of Flamengo because Orlando City is my Flamengo now. So it's a difficult balance. It's really challenging, and I have a lot of gray hair because of that, and I had lost a lot of sleep in the last years because of that. But at the same time, it's fulfilling because it's our passion and because we love the game. We love the game. Um, one of the things that I would say for aspiring sporting directors, it's that sometimes it's also there's a trap there because sometimes we think because we're working with football or soccer, because we're working with something that we love, and because we're in a good seat, sometimes some people have the tendency to think that this is everything,
Yeah.
that the world is around you, that everybody knows what you're doing, that everybody is watching what you're doing. No, it's an industry like every other else, right? So people from sports, from the soccer industry, they know you and they know what you're doing. But the lawyer next door, your neighbor, they don't know what you do. They don't know,
Yeah.
right? So it's also very, very humbling as well. You have to do this exercise to understand that look, it's just a job as well.
Yeah, very interesting. So, one last thing I want to ask you about the different languages. I mentioned, I think it was before we started recording, Ricardo. I went on YouTube to try and watch some previous podcasts of yourself, and they were all in Portuguese, so I couldn't really watch them, to be honest. So, but obviously, you speak English amazingly well, Portuguese, Spanish, and from what I understand, some French as well, potentially. And or is that not as strong as the other ones?
That's probably a curriculum thing, but I can understand a little bit of French, a little bit of Italian as well. I cannot say that I can communicate fluently in both languages. I think I can read a contract in Italian. I can read a contract in French, but those are just things that I've been challenging myself to do and get back to the French studies. I had French in high school back in the days, but I'm not a fluent French speaker anymore. And Italian is something that I've been challenging myself because I would say it's probably easier for a Portuguese native speaker and for someone that knows Spanish to speak Italian. I was in Italy a couple weeks ago. 'Cause my wife went to run the Rome Marathon, so I went there to support her. And I can survive in Italy speaking Portuguese slash English slash Italian, both at the same, the three of them are in the same sentence. French is a little bit more challenging, but I can survive as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I suppose
I think and Chris, sorry, but I think it's super important. If you're in the business, if you are a sporting director, if you're a scout, if you're a head coach, all of our lectures, all of our video sessions, pre-game, post-game, the head coach does it in both Spanish and English at the same time. He speaks Spanish and he translates to English, or the other way around. So I think it's really important. It's a global sport. We have, I think, 16 different nationalities in our locker room. 16. So it's really important we have the Icelandic player that I mentioned, you speaking Spanish. We have the Slovenian speaking Spanish, and we have American trying to speak Portuguese, and so on and so on. So I think it's really important to have this set of skills.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Well, that's everything, Ricardo. We've kind of hit the hour mark nicely there. So really, really appreciate your time. Thanks very much for sharing the insights that you've done. I wish you all the best for this season. Who you playing? Who you got tomorrow, by the way? Is it?
Well, we got the New York Red Bulls tomorrow home. Doesn't bring good memories. We lost to the Red Bulls in the conference finals last year, 1-0 at home. So it's going to be a good game. It's an afternoon game. Usually in MLS we play at 7:30 p.m. It's an afternoon game, so it's going to be good. The sun is out already. Summer is coming to Florida. It's going to be a good afternoon, hopefully. Chris, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the questions, really good ones, and I hope I could share some of my stories, some of the things that I think it's important. But again, soccer is a place, football is a place where we have many different ideas, many different projects, many different ways of thinking and approaching the game. I'm not a professor, I'm not a PhD, so it's just my view on the things. It's just the way I like to approach things, obviously based on my background and my reality and my day-to-day. Probably I would do things differently if I was in the Premier League, if I was in Brazil, if I was in a different country, in a different league. So just for people that are listening to us to think that we need people with different opinions. It's really important to have different opinions in the building, in the offices. You don't want to, if you're the sporting director, you don't want an assistant sporting director that think like you, that comes from the same background and that saw football the same way you did growing up. It's important to have a variety and a set of different opinions and different backgrounds in the club, in my opinion, again. So people can evolve, so people can think differently and try to innovate and do things differently, especially in a league like MLS, where thinking differently can make you be successful. Again, we have all of us, we have the same cap, kinda the same cap. We have the same amount of rules. We are 30 clubs competing for one trophy, and we have playoffs. It's not that you are the best in regular season, we win it all. No. You have to go to playoffs. So it's really difficult to win in MLS. I think I'm just trying to share what I think. I always like to say that to people because it's a sport with many different and good opinions. Just find yours and stick to it and try to innovate later.
Yeah, perfect. Good way to end. Nice one, Ricardo. Well, I'll let you get off and see your wife and see your family. So thanks very much and have a good evening.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
So that's been the Analytics FC podcast. So thanks again for joining us. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please do like, follow, subscribe, and we'll be back next month with another podcast with Analytics FC. Bye for now.